They told you to grind harder, stay busy, keep moving, but no one told you the truth, that all that noise you surround yourself with isn't progress, it's a prison. You think you're working toward your goals, but what you're really doing is drowning out the one thing could actually change your life, your inner clarity. The problem isn't that you're off track, it's that the track you're on was never built for vision, it was built for distraction. And if you don't learn how to cut through the noise, you'll keep mistaking movement for meaning and momentum for purpose. Every day you're surrounded by signals screaming for your attention, notifications, emails, headlines, opinions, and the mind, untrained, latches onto every one. Not because it's curious, but because it's conditioned to respond. We've been wired to fear silence, to fill every empty space with sound, with tasks, with scrolling. But silence isn't a void, it's a mirror. And when you finally sit in it, when everything else fades, the truth starts to echo. That quiet voice you've been ignoring, that's the real you trying to speak, but you can't hear it over the noise you've normalized. Most people think they need more information, another book, another hack, another podcast. But the truth is they don't need more, they need less. Less mental clutter, less emotional residue, less external influence. Clarity doesn't come from stacking ideas on top of each other. It comes from stripping away what never belonged to you in the first place. What you need is a clean lens, and you can't clean a lens while staring through it. You have to step back, breathe, and wipe away the fog. The world has convinced you that constant motion is power, that being busy is a badge of honor. But here's the reality. Clarity is not born in chaos. It shows up in the pause, in the moment you stop performing and start observing. Think about it. Your deepest insights don't come when you're surrounded by people or buried in tasks. They come in the spaces in between, alone in your car, in the shower, just before sleep. That's not coincidence. That's design, because clarity doesn't scream, it whispers, and only those who are still enough can hear it. Here's the trap no one talks about. The more disconnected you feel from your vision, the more you seek validation from outside. You start comparing your path to everyone else's. You start chasing trends, mimicking success formulas, trying to fit into a blueprint that was never made for you. And the more you do that, the more your own sense of direction fades. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped listening. Let's be honest. Most people are addicted to mental noise because silence scares them. Not because silence is dangerous, but because in silence you face yourself. You confront your thoughts, your fears, your regrets, your potential, and that confrontation is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the birthplace of awakening. The real enemy isn't fear, it's distraction. It's the loop of meaningless inputs that keeps you so preoccupied that you forget what you were even looking for in the first place. Vision doesn't come from reacting faster, it comes from slowing down with intention. The people who see clearly, really clearly, aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones who've trained themselves to be calm when others panic, to be present when others flee. They've learned that silence is not a lack of sound, it's a state of alignment. And when you find that state, you don't just see more, you see through more, through the surface, through the distractions, through the stories you've been telling yourself for years. This is the gap between high performance and high purpose. One moves fast, the other moves deep. And until you choose depth, your direction will always be borrowed. You'll keep mistaking urgency for importance and busyness for breakthrough. But the path to unlocking your inner power doesn't start with doing more. It starts with seeing more. And to see more, you have to make space, mental space, emotional space, and yes, silence. Try this 1 hour. No music, no phone, no stimulation, just you and your mind. At first, it'll feel like chaos. Your thoughts will race. Your impulses will spike, but stay there, don't run, because just beyond that initial wave of discomfort lies the gold, clarity, insight, direction. The problem isn't that people don't have vision. It's that they've buried it under noise, narratives, and non-stop input. And they've mistaken that input for wisdom. But wisdom doesn't flood your mind. It rises in the stillness like a ripple in calm water. The reason you haven't felt connected to your deeper purpose isn't because it's missing. It's because you haven't tuned to its frequency. Vision has a frequency, and it doesn't compete with chaos. It waits for you to quiet down. The world has trained you to listen louder, but your power starts when you learn to listen deep. And here's what no one tells you. The longer you avoid silence, the more distorted your life becomes. You'll make choices from fear instead of alignment. You'll say yes to things that drain you, chase goals that don't belong to you, and wake up wondering why you feel off, why success feels empty. It's not the path that's wrong, it's the lens you're using to see it. And until you clear that lens, you keep mistaking noise for truth. But once you pause, once you stop looking outside and start paying attention inside, you'll realize something powerful. You never lacked direction. You were just out of range. The signal didn't disappear. You just weren't listening. And once that signal comes through, even faintly, everything changes. Not all at once, but deeply. Because when you finally see with clarity, you stop chasing and start choosing. You stop surviving and start designing. And that shift, that quiet, powerful shift, is where the real transformation begins. And once that signal comes through, even faintly, everything changes. Not all at once, but deeply. Because when you finally see with clarity, you stop chasing and start choosing. You stop surviving and start designing. But here's the part most people miss: clarity alone isn't enough. Seeing the truth is powerful, but what you do with that truth is where transformation begins. The real secret is this: vision isn't a moment of inspiration. It's a skill, a process, a way of training your mind to see beyond the obvious. To see what others can't, not because you're lucky, but because you've learned how to look. You were never meant to just react to life. You were meant to direct it. But to do that, you have to understand the tool that shapes everything: your perception. What you see isn't always what's there. It's what your mind is conditioned to find. And your conditioning is built through repetition, through thoughts you entertain, emotions you amplify, and beliefs you rarely question. Most people walk through life wearing mental filters they didn't even choose. Filters shaped by fear, comparison, doubt, old stories that never got updated. And here's the twist: those filters don't just change how you see the world. They change what the world shows you. You'll overlook opportunities you don't believe in. You'll expect failure in places you've never even tried. You'll predict pain in relationships that haven't even begun. And it will all feel like truth, but it's not. It's just repetition disguised as reality. This is why emotion plays such a critical role. Emotions are not random. They're not just moods. They are frequencies that tint the way you perceive everything. When you're angry, your world shrinks. You notice offenses, disrespect, friction, even if it's not really there. When you're anxious, your vision becomes defensive. You scan for threats, read between lines that don't exist, and sabotage peace before it arrives. The lens gets fogged, and in that fog, vision collapses. But what happens when you shift the emotion? What happens when you step into gratitude, not as a performance, but as a presence? Your perspective widens. You start noticing small alignments you once ignored. You begin seeing beauty in places you labeled boring. You catch moments of clarity between thoughts. That's not imagination, it's vision clearing up. The emotion unlocks the access point. Same with conviction. When you're deeply aligned with something, your purpose, your values, your mission, there's a sharpness to your focus. Doubt fades. Distractions lose power. The path that once looked complicated becomes obvious because you're not just reacting, you're receiving. You're tuned in. And then there's imagination. It's not a childish escape, it's a tool, a radar. When used intentionally, it becomes your preview system for what's possible. Not fantasy, but blueprint. Your brain doesn't know the difference between vividly imagined experience and actual memory. So when you rehearse greatness, your mind starts creating pathways toward it. That's not magic, that's neuroplasticity. But here's the key. Imagination only becomes powerful when combined with emotion. If you imagine success while feeling doubt, your mind defaults to limitation. But if you imagine while holding belief, clarity, and gratitude, your nervous system begins to trust the vision. It starts to accept it as familiar. And what's familiar becomes achievable. This is the real technique. And it's simple, but not easy. Step 1. Silence the static. That means finding space daily, even 10 minutes, without noise, without distraction. Just observation, no agenda, no performance. Let the mental dust settle. Step 2. Scan your emotional state. Ask yourself, what emotion am I bringing into this moment? If it's fear, anger, jealousy, don't suppress it. Witness it. then intentionally shift. Choose a higher frequency. Gratitude, curiosity, courage. Feel it. Breathe it. Let it reshape your internal lens. Step 3. Activate your vision. Not by setting goals, but by seeing. Imagine yourself in alignment with your values, with clarity, with flow. Don't just picture the outcome. Picture the feeling, the presence, the details. Speak it internally. I always find a way. I attract what supports my growth. I am in tune with what matters. These aren't affirmations for performance. They're instructions for your subconscious. They tell your brain what to look for next. And step 4, translate vision into action. Don't wait for permission. Don't ask for signs. Be the sign. Do something, however small, that aligns with the world you just saw in your mind. One step, one message, one decision. This anchors the vision into reality, and each time you act from that place, you reinforce the pattern, you build the muscle. And what was once invisible starts becoming undeniable. Most people never do this. They wait for clarity to hit them like lightning. They wait for confidence before they move. But the truth is, clarity isn't given, it's earned through stillness, through emotional awareness, through intentional imagination, and most of all, through courageous action. You already have access to this. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to isolate on a mountain. You just need to pause long enough to notice what's been waiting for you all along, your own inner navigation system. It's not broken, it's just been drowned out. And the moment you tune in, you remember what you've always known. Your power was never outside you. It was in your ability to see clearly, to feel intentionally, to imagine boldly, and to move even when nothing around you confirms it's time. Because real vision doesn't follow proof, it creates it. And the moment you commit to seeing differently, the world around you begins to shift, quietly, consistently, powerfully. And when it does, you won't just see the path, you'll become it.